Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this meeting. Before we actually start the content, just two quick notices. One, my little boy is marauding around, so you might hear him. If you do, apologies. And two, this will be recorded for the benefit of anybody who can't join. What that does mean is if you ask a question, your question will appear on the recording. So if you want to ask a question but you don't feel comfortable with your question appearing on the recording, then email me separately. Right then, so let's crack on. For the benefit of anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Susie Green, Head of Sixth Form. I imagine you do all know me by now, but just in case anybody doesn't. And today's talk is aimed primarily at Year 13 parents, although of course if there are any Year 12 parents, you're warmly welcome to get ahead for next year, and is going to focus on how best to support students with their revision, with their studying, now they have received their mock results. So you will be aware that the mock results were issued today. Students may have seen papers before today, but their actual grade profile was issued today. And I imagine you've had the chance to have a conversation with them about that already. The next few weeks are absolutely essential in terms of setting the tone for how everyone moves forward. Now, actually, the news is good. The mock results were generally good. They were better than they were last year. And overall, we're really pleased. But as always, there are some students who've done brilliantly, some students who've done okay, and some students who will be disappointed with how they've done. That's the case every year. And with any of those scenarios, this is a really funny time because they're at a bit of a fork in the road, and how they react and deal with the results they've received makes a really big difference in how positively they move forward. The other thing is that this is a very funny age. The students feel like adults, they look like adults, they behave like adults in many, many ways, but actually they're very much children as well. And now I don't have a teenage child, I have a baby, but I have been head of sixth form for a while now. I'm very experienced at working with this particular age group. And I know that as parents, this is often a very tricky age to navigate that line between allowing them to be independent and to flourish and to get ready to leave home or go out into the world or whatever they'll be doing, and actually setting firm boundaries to make sure that they do what they need to do. And so that's why I thought it would be a good idea to have this conversation with everybody. So before we start, if you believe your child is entitled to access arrangements and they do not get them, please tell us as soon as possible. So if your child has just done their mock exams and they have had extra time, a smaller venue, reader, scribe, worked on a laptop, something like that, then great. If you think they are meant to have that, that means they will have some sort of special educational need or neurodiversity or learning difference that is diagnosed, or they're on a waiting list for a diagnosis, then they may be entitled to some of these. If you think they are and they're not getting them, please let us know ASAP. It's a bit of a cumbersome process agreeing it with the exam board, so we won't be able to sort it the week before the exam. Please communicate that ASAP. So, firstly, how to talk to your child tonight. Your child having received mock results, as I said, some of them will be elated, some of them will be in the middle, and some of them will be really disappointed. So the first thing I really strongly recommend is that you are on their team, however the mocks have gone. There was definitely more than one child today at school saying, I'm really scared of talking to my parents about my results. I'm really worried about how my carers will react. I really strongly recommend, in terms of things moving forward productively, that even if you're frustrated with them or you're annoyed at how they've done, that you aim to be on their team. Celebrate successes, and if they're not happy with one or more of their grades, think about them as a springboard or a motivator. The other thing I would recommend strongly is allowing them to spend a bit of time processing their mock results. It's so easy as parents, and I do it as head of sixth form as well, to be like, right, you got these results, let's crack straight on. But actually, for some students, it takes them a little while to process the results, and today may not be the right time for the conversation. And so if they feel that they need today to process the results, do allow space for that. If a child wants to talk to a teacher about their mocks and they're worried about it, you can really help them practice and prepare for that conversation. Students often will get really anxious about having a conversation they perceive as a difficult conversation with a member of staff. So helping them script it and practice it can be very beneficial. So in assembly this morning, before the students received their grades, I talked to them about being at a fork in the road. Now, if they've smashed it, they are at very serious risk, and this happens every year, of thinking, I've done it, I've got it, I'm sorted, and not working hard enough and not keeping up that pressure. And every year we have some children who do really well in the mocks and less well in the summer. Their fork in the road is whether or not they continue working really hard or they slack off. For those who are less happy, the fork in the road is they can think, I'm not bothered, I don't care, I'm going to fail anyway. Not that I think any of them are going to fail, but that's how some children perceive the situation. But actually, this is a really great opportunity to think, no, I'm going to build on this, I'm going to do better. So please, when you have your conversations, do reinforce that message at home. Now, moving forward from the mocks, the chances are there's two types of students. You will either have a child who's fairly laid back or one who will run themselves into the ground. There are some in the middle, but it's rare. Most children fundamentally fall into one camp or the other. Now, at the end of the day, and I've been head of sixth form for 6 years now, and I can tell you this categorically, at the end of the day, the best thing we can do to help students with their well-being is ensure they study early enough so they don't need to panic at the end. Now, at the moment, we still have time. We have 4 months. They can make so much difference in 4 months. Whatever their outcomes were, it's not too late. If we leave it another 2 months, it will be too late. And so supporting your child to put together a really good plan, and I will tell you exactly how to do that in a minute, is the best thing you can do for them. And I really would say that this is the hill to die on at this point. Now, in terms of management of things at home, making sure that your child is proactive and gets ahead at this stage really is very important. So in a minute, I'm going to talk very specifically about what you can do at home to support your child. Firstly, a quick reminder that if your child is struggling, they are upset by their results, please ask them to seek support. They can speak to their mentor. Laura Mitchell, our sixth form counsellor, used to work 2 days a week at Finham. She now works 3. That extra day is being used to support year 13 students who need that support. Please do encourage them to refer to Laura Mitchell, Mrs. Hosking, our wellbeing officer, any of the sixth form team. And most importantly, if your child is struggling very significantly with their mental health, please do encourage them to see their doctor. So how can you help your child at home? This is a call to action. As we know, this is a team game. Your child has got to do the majority of the work, and there's no sugarcoating that. They have. The school will do as much work as we can, and I'm really hoping that you will help us and support your child by doing some things as well. So firstly, and I apologise, this will be patronising most of you, but it's just important to say, go through with them, and even if you think, oh, they'll have this sorted, they don't all have this sorted, please ask them, do they have folders? Are they organised with file dividers? And please, if you're making notes, write this down. Ask to see their folders and go through them. There is something about asking your child to show them and asking them to explain to you why they filed things in the order they have that actually helps them think about their knowledge and why they've done things in a certain order. Do they have a topic list or a copy of the specification? Talk about that with them. Say, which topic do you like the best? Which one do you find difficult? Have a conversation with them about that topic list. Do they have the textbooks and resources they need? If they don't, and financially that you feel concerned about being able to purchase anything, let the school know there is some wiggle room. And do they have a quiet place to study? Disclaimer, please do not leave your child studying on their own in a quiet space in their bedroom for several hours. Go in and check on them and make sure they're actually studying. If they don't have a quiet space to study, I absolutely understand that some families in the sixth form have babies at home or whatever. We can provide them with a pass to go and study at Coventry or Warwick University Library. So if they don't have a quiet space to study, let us know and we'll facilitate that. And then again, ensure they're eating healthy food. That's really important. Excuse me, sorry. I cannot reinforce enough how important it is to have a sensible bedtime that they stick to, even at the weekends if they can. I'm very aware that in year 13, students will very often get in the habit of going out late at the weekend. I would discourage that as much as you can. I know that they need to find themselves and find out who they are, and that is all very important, but they've got the rest of their lives to do that. And actually, there is a lot of evidence that keeping to a regular bedtime and a regular wake up time is very beneficial for regulating the body. Not too much partying, and if your child does drink alcohol, no judgment from me at all, but if your child does drink alcohol, please suggest that they limit it, especially in the week. Little rewards go a long way. If you do this, I'll give you a takeaway tonight. If you do this, I'll get you a chocolate bar. And celebrating small wins. A levels can feel completely overwhelming because actually they're massive. And little wins, right? You revise this one topic, that can be really, really, really beneficial. Now, the first thing I would like you all to do with them, please, is to make a study plan. They might already have a study plan, but sit down as a family and think about that study plan, make it with them and put it up around your home. Firstly, put in appropriate breaks and be realistic. No child is going to stick to a plan that means they are studying from the first thing in the morning to the last thing at night every night. But there needs to be a plan and there needs to be structure. The way to do that is to get those specifications and those topic lists I was talking about and map out the week, put in breaks first, and then put in topics from each of your child's subjects that they are going to study. I would do this with them rather than for them. Prioritizing the subjects that they don't like. We'll talk about how to pick those out in a minute. And at the very least, even if you don't go topic by topic, picking the blocks they're going to study each of their subjects. Now, have a conversation about how your family week fits around this. If you attend religious services, obviously that's a huge priority. If your family has dinner at a certain time, that's a big priority. Does anything need to change to facilitate that studying? There's only 4 months left. That is enough time to make a difference, but it's not such a long time that small changes can't be made to family life to accommodate study. Discuss other commitments. I understand completely that everyone's financial situation is different, but this is the time that part-time jobs need to be reviewed. And if your child goes to the gym every day, great. I'm all for going to the gym. I'm all for exercise as well-being. But if they go for 3 hours at a time, and I know some of them do in year 13, they don't need to be doing that. 1 hour at a time is fine. Have that conversation. What are the priorities? Please make sure they have enough time to be studying. And then, and this is a conversation that is absolutely essential to have, how are you going to hold them accountable? You neither want to fall out with them, nor do you want to just let them crack on with no boundaries. And therefore, I recommend having a very, very open and honest conversation with them about how you're going to hold them accountable. Can you check their work twice a day, whatever it might be? And if they study on their own in their room, I'm going to say this a second time, please go and check they study. Every year, I have somebody come to me wanting to resit who says to me, and their parents say, oh, I thought they were studying, or the carers say, I thought they were studying. And it turns out they're in their room on TikTok and they've told their parents or carers that they are studying for 4 hours when actually they didn't study at all. So if your child is studying alone in their room or alone in a different room in the house, go in every so often, agree the time period, every hour, every half an hour, whatever. Hold your child to account, show me what you've done, tell me what you've done, and that will really help. Now, in terms of how they can revise at home, I would like you to start this tomorrow. Not tonight, they need to process the results. Start tomorrow. Firstly, space out topics. So if they are revising, most children will have 3 subjects, some will have 4. Don't cram one subject for 8 hours. Do an hour on one, an hour on the other, and move through them. There's lots of evidence that helps students remember and retain things better. Now, step 1, and this is something you can do with them. Put some time aside this weekend to go through the exam specifications with them. They should have them. If they don't have them, they're all on the exam board website. Print them off. If that's a problem, tell your child to print them off at school tomorrow. get 3 highlighters, red, amber, green. Go through each topic one by one. If they understand it completely and they're like, yep, could do that in my exam tomorrow, highlight it green. If they don't have a clue and they really need to work on it, highlight it red. And if it's like, yeah, that's okay, highlight it amber. And that means you will already have a plan for their order of priority. Red is the most important to revise, then amber, and then green does need to feature a bit because we don't want to forget those topics. Now, I love the phrase eat your frog. I don't know where I got it from, but it basically means do the things that you're most worried about first. In my household, I have a thing about unloading the dishwasher. Loading the dishwasher, turning it on, fine. But unloading the dishwasher just gives me the ick. And I make myself do it first thing in the morning every day when I get up, because otherwise my dishwasher doesn't get unloaded and then my kitchen's a disaster. And I hate that because I hate clutter. And eating your frog is the process of doing the things you're most worried about first, because that makes you feel so much better. So the red topics are the ones that probably are stressing your children out. They're upsetting them. Now, there is a lot of evidence showing that children will instinctively revise the things they're already quite good at. And one of the reasons that some children don't progress between the mocks and the summer is because they only revise the topics they're good at. So once you've gone through and done red, amber, green, that's what RAG stands for, if anyone isn't sure, red, amber, green on all these specifications, into that study plan you've made, put in all the red topics and break them up. Treat your child to some green topics and amber topics as well. Do this together. I'm not saying do it to them, do it with them, but make sure those red topics are all in, maybe earlier in the morning so they're fresher, and they will feel so much better to start revising those. As I said, I strongly recommend you put some time aside this weekend to do that, because simply the act of going through and doing the red, amber, green process will organise in your head and in your child's head where they're at and what they need to do next. And that's a really powerful activity to do. I would recommend doing that maybe once a month so that, you and they can see progress they are making. Step 2. Ask them to teach you the content they learned today. Again, there is a ton of educational psychology that has proved that teaching something is the best way to memorize it and improve your understanding. So I'm very sorry, parents and carers, but you are going to become experts in the subject areas that your children study. If they do maths or science, get them a whiteboard. You can get them really cheaply online. Get them a whiteboard, get them some board pens, get out your pen and paper and get them to teach you how to do maths. Get them to teach you how to do science. Talk it through, one topic per day. If you do an essay subject, you can still do it on a big whiteboard. Whatever it is, however it works for you, get them to teach you. If you can't stand that, get their friends to get them to teach their friends, their siblings, their soft toys. Draw a face on the mirror, get them to do a lesson to the mirror, whatever it is. As I said, there is so much evidence that them teaching you will make a big difference to their understanding and how they retain that memory. So put some time aside. I think it would be really nice, maybe, if you could agree that after dinner every day for 20 minutes, there's going to be a lesson or something like that. And with that, don't just ask them to teach you the content they learned today. Ask them to teach you the content they learned last week, last month, last term, because regular revisiting of topics will embed them in the long-term memory. Right, step 3, ask them to make visual aids of key knowledge. Now, one of the things that I'm really passionate about is that cue cards are not the whole story. And one of the things I often feed back to students is that the reason they're not getting the grades they want is that all they've done is written their notes out on cue cards. That is not the whole story. But visual aids of key knowledge are helpful, whether that be posters, cue cards, spider diagrams, whatever your child likes, post-it notes on the wall. Display them around the house. Now, this is the important bit, how you use those. Display them around the house. So again, I'm sorry, parents and carers, your house is going to be decorated with post-it notes for the next 4 months. Display them around the house and test them casually as they go about their day. Now, obviously, you want to set some boundaries with this because your child probably doesn't want to be on the toilet and you burst in and ask them a question. There will be some times in the day that they might want to know they won't be asked questions, but there is a huge amount of benefit to regularly chipping away. If they've got an equation they need to learn, just asking them as you're making dinner, asking them as they come down for breakfast, asking them soon after they get in from school. And that regular reminder, as long as it's done in such a way that they know they have time where you're not going to ask them, will actually really help. Because again, educational psychology, the regular and unexpected questions do help them commit this knowledge to memory. Step 4. The step 3 that we've talked about is the knowledge. And for step 4, we want to help them access the higher order skills. These are the skills that help them get the B's, A's, A stars. So condensing notes is a really good way of doing that. If your child has got 10 pages of notes on a topic, ask them to condense it into 100 words, the most important 100 words, then into 10 words. Yes, I absolutely can do that in a second. I've just seen the comment. Ask them to condense all of their topics. For essay subjects, ask them to compare and contrast both sides of an argument, use exam questions as the argument, and have discussions about things around the dinner table. It doesn't matter if you don't understand what you're talking about. Saying to them, why do you think that? How did that happen? Asking them difficult questions is really important. A really good way of doing this is asking them to write a challenging exam question and write the mark scheme, and then asking them to outline why that question they've asked is challenging. That's a very, very useful way. That's a very useful tool for helping them access the higher order skills. So, specific exam related study tips. You may or may not have heard of examiners' reports. Just in case you haven't, examiners' reports are published after every exam series, and they go through every question and they tell you what was done well and what was done badly. Please talk to your child about these. Support them to read the exam reports for the mocks they've just done, or indeed for any exam they do. Most of the mocks were last year's exam papers, so they can find that online. Read them, make a spider diagram of the key points, go through the answers they did in the mocks, and see what they did and didn't do, and that will help them improve their answers. I strongly recommend that children practice their exam technique like they would train for a marathon. i.e., if you were training for a marathon, you wouldn't run 26 miles every run. You might do 5 miles one day, 10 miles another day, 3 miles another day. In the same way, exam questions little and often, an exam question every day. Get them to sit down, take the phone off them, time them 10 minutes, one question. Mix up which paper it is, but actually getting into the habit of doing exam questions in exam conditions every day and feeling that pressure a bit can be very helpful. Support them to practice their proofreading by looking at the mark scheme one step at a time. It's very common for children to look at a mark scheme and think, oh, I knew that, but they didn't, because they didn't really know it. Otherwise, they would have written it. And so supporting them to just look at the first line of a mark scheme and then seeing if they can continue from there is very beneficial. And indeed, repeating questions they've already completed, can they improve them? So, step 5, overcoming procrastination. They will procrastinate, plan for it, and allow it to happen in a healthy way. Support them. If your child is a procrastinator, you will know. Support them to set small goals. So in 20 minutes, they'll do this. And if you've got, I don't know, whatever rewards they like, some grapes or something, 20 minutes, this will give you a couple of grapes, whatever it might be. I know food rewards aren't always very healthy, but actually sometimes they really work with students. Short but regular breaks. I strongly recommend you support the students to time their breaks. It's really common that students will have done some lovely work, so they'll be like, oh, I'll have a little break 3 hours later. Remove distractions as much as possible, and help them to do a big task and then treat themselves to crossing off a few small ones. And finally, and this is the biggest hill to die on, and I cannot be clearer about this, mobile phone usage. Year 13 in particular use their phones a lot. I'm not saying this is about every single child, but a lot of them do. There is such clear evidence that mobile phone and social media usage is damaging for concentration. If you think you can possibly manage it, agree with your child that while they're studying, take them away, turn them off, lock them up. If their mobile phone is the device they use to study, we can lend them a device from school. Contact me and we will sort that. But using their mobile phone and having access to all the distractions on their phone is not healthy and doesn't help them. I've been head of sixth form for 6 years and I will die on this hill. The students who don't use their phones as much do better. And there is such a clear correlation. I would suggest, and I know this is a big battle, but I would suggest they delete their social media until after their exams. I know that's probably not realistic, but if you can persuade them, it'll make a difference. And if not, do try and limit it. If they like listening to music while they study, have a big conversation with them about whether it actually helps. For some of them, it does, but for a lot of them, it's another distraction that stops things being embedded in their long-term memory. There are a few links here. This PowerPoint will be circulated tomorrow, so you can get the links. There are a few links here to apps that you can put on your phone that will block sites like social media so that you can use your phone as a device if you have to without the distractions. Okay, so that's the presentation. There are 3 questions in the chat. If there are any others, please type them now. So exam boards, yes, what I can do is I can circulate a list tomorrow when this presentation comes out. Dates of exams, the students have got an exams assembly scheduled in a couple of weeks' time and a letter will be sent home at that point with the exam dates. So we haven't got them now, but they're coming very soon. The mock exam results are already on MCAS. Your child will have information from their teachers about the areas of weakness. If you feel they're not able to communicate that with you effectively, then please contact their teachers directly. Are there any other questions? Doesn't seem so, in which case, thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.